This is Zettelcast, brought to you by readers, writers, thinkers, and teachers from LiLLiPub, along with our partners in thought, our Zettelkastens. In this show, we share discoveries that our Zettelkastens have shown us.
There you go.
And compare notes on how we're using this marvelous invention in our creative work. Thank you for joining us.
All right, Book.
Let's do it again.
All right.
Episode 67, Time Tics.
Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Zettelcast number 67. And we have two activities. The first activity, because it's the end of the year, lots of festivities, lots of family things happening, lots of holiday spirit happening. I didn't want to necessarily burden the authors with, some crazy assignments. So I thought, let me give them a choice. So activity 1, if the time is short, answer the following in 250 words or less. True or false? A Zettelkasten's greatest value is its role as a safekeeper of its owner's cognitive magnets, also known as main cards. Why? And what does that safekeeping do? So that's activity 1. So did anybody do activity 1?
Mine might fall into that.
Okay. So does that mean you're going first?
Well, so I exceeded the 250 word limit by a factor of 3.
Oh.
So it's 2 pages. It's a 2-page essay.
Wow.
And it's called Zettelkasten as Thinking Environment.
Mm.
So before we started, I was praising Deb, because Deb always, even when she thinks she's giving us easy questions, that for me, they dig a little deep. So this writing assignment allowed me to recognize that Nadia Z, my Zettelkasten +1, is an example of Nancy Klein's thinking environment. I have talked about Nancy Klein's thinking environment before. She's, you could just search on Google Nancy Klein's thinking environment, Kline. And that is really geared toward creating a space where people can think together. An environment that is really conducive to excellent thought. So that Nadia Z is my thinking partner and the thinking environment itself. And so Klein has defined the 10 components of the thinking environment as attention, equality, ease, appreciation, encouragement, feelings, information, diversity, incisive questions, and place. So I touch on each of those here, how it checks that box. And I'm really speaking of my own experience here, but I am also generalizing this as a frame that anyone might use. I don't think I'm particularly special in this. So the first one, attention. The act of capturing something in Zettelkasten form is a payment of attention. Rephrasing an idea in your own words is a feature of active listening. And Klein points to an even deeper kind of attention, listening without interruption and with interest in where your thinking partner will go next in their thinking. So just one example of this kind of attention is when you let a main card choose its parent. Equality. So every main card is ideally valued as an equal contributor. We've talked about the fact that when cards are relegated to structural roles, like when they are just topic headings, they have a harder time doing more than just that. So they can even become objects of a kind of scorn. It's like, oh, well, there's that card. And all it is a topic, right? So an ongoing process of repair can remedy that. So you add more personal insights to a structural card, you make a better tagline for it when you come across it. The desire for equality inspires that process.
Mm.
Ease. Very quickly after collecting even a modest number of cards and revisiting them after some mental distance, that is, rediscovering them, can bring a real sense of relief. Oh my, I'd never have remembered that. Something valuable has been maintained well just by following the process. With more experience, especially with an analog Zettelkasten, one can develop a kind of deliberate ritual that promotes a sense of ease. You're working slowly. The thing takes the time that it takes. And Klein's tagline, as I put it, for ease is discard internal urgency.
Mm.
So when I have found internal urgency over the process of using my Zettelkasten itself, this has become noticeable as an outlier and inspires a creative response. So my recent experience filing my vision cards after having them unfiled for a year is an example of that.
Mm.
It was bugging me. All right, appreciation. In the cards themselves, the personal reflection that you add to a card, in addition to whatever information you're collecting from somewhere else, is a great opportunity for noticing what's good and saying so, as Klein puts it. To collect many such expressions on a variety of subjects is to provide oneself with a kind of reservoir of delight. Of course, a profound sense of appreciation can also come with creative output that has been enabled and inspired by the cards. Encouragement. This component of the thinking environment speaks of giving a thinking partner courage to go to the unexplored edge of their thinking. The Zettelkasten does this so naturally. The implicit question I feel Nadia Z asking without judgment is, what else?
Mm.
It makes the unexplored edge that much more evident. And the confidence I've already experienced in reaching that far powers a docile response. Yeah, what else? Feelings. So this is about welcoming the release of emotion. So the personal reflection welcomes the release of emotion directly, and crafting an evocative tagline does that as well, and it contributes to a growing sense of personality in the box. Information, facts, data, of course, have their place in the system, providing a kind of groundedness. A Zettelkasten limited to this component strikes me as a dry and barren place, though. Personally, I look to auxiliaries for pure information where I can. So Zotero is one of those when I know there's a website and it's just got all the things and I don't need to have it here because it's just as easy to get to there. And also for truly consequential stuff that I want even handier than my Zettelkasten, I use a memory palace. I stick it in here. So these 10 components of the thinking environment is an example of something I committed to a memory palace when I first learned that technique, and I'm really glad I did that. Diversity. My Zettelkasten really began to come into its own when I could see representatives of seemingly disparate areas there, and I treated them as equals in some kind of unfolding mystery. Two more. Incisive questions. This component of the thinking environment takes aim at self-limiting cognitive biases. And my Zettelkasten has a great way of revealing these subliminally. That pervasive question, what else, shines a light on what seems to be missing or lopsided. In general, having a personal set of questions, a la Feynman, is a useful perceptual filter in day-to-day experience. So my life is an auxiliary of my Zettelcast in a way. Victoria's recent Experience Collection Challenge was a great example for many of us in LiLLiPub that we enjoyed in November. And it continues on. She's going to be showing us, yeah, what do we do with that? All right, the final one, place. This is all about, in the context of facilitating a group, it's about the things that are roughly called logistics. All the things where you set up the room and the way you behave, you're just saying, you matter. And so the care and attention to all the environmental factors of a Zettelkasten say in numerous ways, you matter. I am glad that I took the advice to name my Zettelkasten because that has added a little bit of incentive to treat Nadia Z with more love and respect than I did with prior knowledge management systems. The physical nature of the analog Zettelkasten provides ongoing physical evidence of the care that I take with it.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
I'm glad you went rogue.
How wonderful.
Yeah, that was great.
Wow.
I cannot make a summation of that. I can't, tamp that down other than to say that's an intellectual embrace that you did.
Uh-huh.
You know, um, it's like you saying to Nadia Z, and she's saying back to you, you know, we are one, and we have all these aspects of it, and we come together and we make more than 1 + 1. It becomes a gazillion.
Yep.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful, Julianne.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ah.
Who? Anybody have any comments on that?
Oh, well, I'm going to go through the recording and make, I think, like 10 main cards.
Yeah. Yeah. There's another book to buy. Sure, for sure. Okay, then. Who's next?
I also did the first activity. I went a little bit rogue too. I took the idea of the Zettelkasten as the safekeeper of the memory. What did you say? Mental magnets, memory magnets.
Cognitive
Yeah.
magnets.
That's it. That's what you said.
Yes.
But that was really timely because of this project that I've had over the last week. Because Julianne has shared that she has transferred her index from cards to a book. And I have been hesitant to do that because it would be a lot of work, but also intrigued. And finally, after we talked about it last week, I bit the bullet. I started on, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday, I don't remember, and finished it on Saturday.
Wow.
So I need bigger rings. They're coming today, but it works mostly. So I've got everything in this book instead of on cards. And part of that process was there's older parts of my index when I was just using keywords before I learned to do taglines. And I hardly ever look at those sections when I'm indexing stuff. But I added those at the beginning of my page for each of the letters. And in the process of doing that, I was like, I occasionally hit keywords. I'm like, what is that about? And I went and looked, and there was a whole section of like detailed main cards with information and response and my thinking that had been completely lost in
Wow.
the wilderness because I didn't have a good pointer to it. So now I know, now that I finished this project, that I need to go through that and look for those hidden areas. And I've also been just finished the book Lateral Thinking, and there was a quote that I had written down that was completely relevant, where he wrote, "Something is more effectively lost if it is misfiled than it is not filed at all." And that's so true. My unfiled stuff, like my journals and stuff, I know where they are. The information is there. So I can go find things that are unfiled. Sometimes they do get really lost. That's true. But these misfiled areas of my Zettelkasten, and if I hadn't been poking around, they could have stayed lost forever.
Mm.
So, so the little piece that I wrote, which was under 250 words, was inspired by your prompt and all of this work, was just a sort of a extended metaphor. The Zettelkasten is a kingdom of the mind, and the index is a map. It develops a geography, and tentative paths are cut through the wilderness of ideas. Some paths grow to roads or highways, while others languish in obscurity. If a place is forgotten and unmapped, how do you find it again?
Oh, how
How do you find it
Wow,
again?
gorgeous.
Yes.
wow.
Yes. Oh my goodness. How do you find it again? I'm the queen of that. No, that's yeah. How do you find it again? The index is key. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay.
I have a little bit more to add here.
Yeah.
When I'm
Okay.
making taglines and I know that something is going to be fitting in with some other subject already, I try to use different words in the tagline than I've already used so that it's more likely to cross-pollinate with other things.
That's a
Oh,
great tip.
great idea. Thank you. Wow.
Yeah. Because,
Oh,
if you're
Oh,
using the same words over and over again for things that are clustered together, then you can't find a road back into it for other ways. So I do my best to try and come up with other words that could be used just to cross-pollinate.
yeah.
cross-pollinate. Well, yeah, that's the whole treasure of the Zettelkasten is that I mean that was the way Kathleen came up with that missing one, that missing piece of missing petal.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was that was the way I came up with the idea for the circulation cards. It's
Yeah.
it's it's those crossroads and those and the making of the map that leads to the treasure for sure. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Anybody else have anything to say about the wonderfulness that Mel brought to bear here?
terrific. It's completely different from Julianne's and very, very rich. So
Yeah.
it's very exciting. Yeah.
Okay. In that case,
Should I go on? All
see,
right. Well, since Mel began with talking about the index, and I also love Julianne's idea of having a highly portable index. However, Zeke index is just a little bit unwieldy for that approach. So, but I did make Zeke portable. This is just a plastic shoebox, and I was already just about outgrowing my set of drawers. I almost bought another set, and I thought, I'm going to put my index in this plastic shoebox so it can go with me. And combining that with Julianne's concept of a Z log, which I know Mel and I have both um, done, where you write a tagline for every time you create one, you make a combination. Now I have a portable system. And it's just done wonders for me from the standpoint of not only getting my cards indexed, because once they're written down into my Z log, I can just read them off my Z log and do my indexing so the cards can get filed properly. But also, I've discovered that I can take an unfiled card and do my directory card for it. I can go through all the possible places and write down all the interesting taglines where it might go. And then I come back to my desk and go through the cards and let the card decide which conversation it actually wants to join. And then I can write it down and it goes back for the indexing phase. So I am actually, oh my gosh, I'm making so much headway through my backlog. It's just unbelievable. I was beginning to think that that was going to be a layer of permacrud. Hate to say it because it just wasn't getting done, and now it is. Now it is getting done.
Yay.
So, with that said, my contribution was I just made notes. I didn't write an essay. I put some notes on a Zettelkasten card, and I began with the statement of the problem. True or false, a Zettelkasten's greatest value is its role as safekeeper of its owner's cognitive magnets, aka main cards. Why and what does the safekeeping do? And my answer to the question is true, absolutely true. Safe storage, you bet. But it's the magnetic component that provides the value in my estimation. New ideas get to interact with pre-existing ideas. And that leads to gems because you get some explosive combinations. You take something that you thought 2 years ago and you're revisiting it and you didn't even know that card was in there and they collide and it's like, poof, you get an explosion of new ideas. And that is to me the great, that's the dopamine rush of keeping a Zettelkasten. And it's the bowl of ice cream that keeps you going because this happens from time to time. And it just feels enormously fulfilling. And it is very much that magnetic component. That was my contribution.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So it feels like a little booklet should be created, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
behind, you know,
Yeah. Collecting these.
yeah,
Yeah.
what's been said today. And that was the one that I didn't really I didn't really I was so happy with that phrase, cognitive magnet. Then I said, okay, good. And then I put that down and went to the next activity. And what I ended up with in the first activity is that good ones attract company.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Good ones attract company. So, yeah, who's going to write that little book, huh?
Well, at least we're going to have it on video for all of our YouTube subscribers and for ourselves to go back and review it.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure it will end up on a book for me, but I do know some main cards are going to come out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it just feels like a little digest,
Yeah.
you know, that it conceptually it can be absorbed by people who are new to Zettelkasten, that it'll make the journey, I think, easier, smoother, because they'll have the picture on top of, when you're putting a puzzle together
Uh-huh.
and the puzzle box has the picture.
Yeah.
That's what this is. This the picture. And so when you have everything all over the place, the pieces, you have that picture in mind and say, okay, we're gonna, keep on going because there's going to be an explosion of ideas, and it's going to take me to a place where I didn't know, a new place. And it's all coming from me, from my thoughts,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
A little book. Yeah. Okay, so activity 2. Activity 2 is, if you have a bit more time, please give some thought to what it might be like at the intersection of a transformative trilogy. And a trilogy is loss is transformed to lessons. Wounds are transformed to wonder. Poison is transformed to a potion, which is medicine. So that circle and the intersection of the second circle, which time lied to me. What tell us about the life of any character living at that intersection? Any character living at that intersection for a maximum of 250 words. Anybody?
I'll go because it was so easy for me. I mean, you
Oh, right.
thank you. You just, hey, it fit perfectly because my character is Teresita. And Teresita has a wound, a loss, and what some consider a poison. So here we go. Teresita is living at just such a trilogy. She suffered a wound at the age of about 9 months. It was a crib accident with a toy that her father had given her and should not have let her have within her reach in her crib. And it had a choking hazard. And when her parents found her, she was blue. Of course, they, rushed her to a medical facility, but there was the question, she was down. It produced it was a bar thing where she got her neck caught in it, so her larynx was damaged. It wasn't destroyed, but it was injured, so she couldn't make sounds. And there was some question about, well, how much brain damage is going to have happened. And this led to, so that was the wound. And then the loss that she suffered was that her parents became very self-recriminating and argumentative with one another and blaming. And her father ended up, couldn't take the weight of it because it was the toy he'd given to her, and he left. So she lost her father. But she lost more than that because now her mother's a single mother trying to raise this child that she thinks is maybe mentally not very bright and can't utter sounds. So she does not think to teach her language. Being connected to the link, language isn't the normative thing unless you're raising small children that are too young to go into the link. Then you're careful to teach them the language, but she didn't. And so Teresita had that another big loss. She lost the opportunity to learn language. However, along came a creature who just absolutely poisoned the feed that came out of his environment with his constant ram, 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 vocal, 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 that everybody thought, oh my gosh, who could listen to this? This is just, oh, he's just poisoning the atmosphere. But to Teresita, it's potion because it's visual and audio and it's repetitive. And he does, every time he touches something, he talks about the thing he's touching and he talks about it with affection. And she picks up on the affection that he has for each and everything. There is nothing that he touches that he scorns. Everything that he touches is beloved and is talked to sweetly and again and again and again repetitively. And she's learning language. And it's just a feed. So she just practices. There's nobody stopping her from practicing saying it. And she's learning to speak and she's learning to understand the language. So she's the perfect person living at that trilogy. So thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
This was just made for Teresita.
Who knew? Okay. Okay. Wow. Wow. But see, this is another demonstration, another illustration of the connectedness
Yeah.
that happens naturally among the five of us, Victoria included,
Yeah.
plus plus ones.
Yeah.
So the 10 of us. So the 10 all together makes the big one, you know? It's amazing. I mean, that's such a very repeated, used word, but it's applicable. It's appropriate. It's correct.
Yeah.
You know. So, okay, who's next? Next.
I give you my IOU.
Okay.
There's definitely an opportunity in my part of the Roanoke story for this, and it can elevate. What I always intended was to have various examples of good use of a Zettelkasten
Mm,
threaded through the book without it becoming, boring.
yeah.
And this is so I my character Malcolm is going to have something to say and discover about all of this, but I haven't thought I wasn't quite ready to think it all through. But again, I appreciate the frame because it deepens where I was going on my own.
So, okay. Ta-da. Okay, Maestro Jeffco.
Well, I only did the first activity
Okay.
because I was short on time.
Okay.
My time was taken up with all of that indexing, re-indexing.
Oh, gee. Okay. And that brings it to me then. And this is the only activity that I did. I didn't really do the first one. So, and this one is still has to be considered a zero draft. You know, even though I worked on it. Never mind all that. That's the writer's way, right? You work on it, you know. So at 12, Time promised her best friend would come back from summer vacation with stories and souvenirs. Instead, a car accident, a funeral. Then, sixth grade was in a new building with unfamiliar faces who'd never known her friend, Willie Mae, or the girl she herself had been before. Time said life continues. It never mentioned how you were supposed to go on when the person you'd made sense of the world with was suddenly stolen. By her late 50s, she'd learned brick wall survival tactics well enough. But what she hadn't expected was the impact of silence. Her adult children had both moved away, so no Sunday dinners or even regular phone calls. Hadn't Time promised they would always stay close? The economy had apparently had other ideas. Trying not to expect too much, she started browsing YouTube and was delighted to find a fun little writing circle that worked like the old telephone game. One person starts a story, passes it to the next in line. They add a twist, and then somebody else builds on that. Secretary duties rotate weekly. 3 rounds later, they all join in to refine the resulting story that inevitably delights them all. She didn't even notice when loneliness left her parlor.
Oh.
By 95, she had written several well-received novellas and a prize-winning essay or two. Though slower now, she still recruited in her community for that fun little circle that had helped her so much. Time had lied about permanence. Willie Mae, Sunday dinners, all of that. but it told the truth about one thing. What saves you can save others if you share it.
Whew. That's lovely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
You and your zero drafts.
Ooh.
It's pretty polished in my view.
mhm.
Beautiful.
Well, I had a heck of a time getting that down to 250. You know. There was somebody who's I don't know if that was maybe it was Mark Twain. I'm not sure. But he used to write letters to people, handwritten letters to people, and he would apologize sometimes and saying, "Sorry, I didn't have time to make this shorter." You know, so I think that was Mark Twain. I'm not sure, but to say something in a few words is well, that's the writer's thing, right? So there it is. That's what it's all about. So, anybody else have anything they want to say? Okay, well, we have. What is it, Kathleen? You seem like you have
Yeah, I
a
was
thing.
thinking about the component of time. The
Mm,
only place where time entered into it for Teresita was the long gap between her wound and her losses before the poison slash potion came along. But time also plays a big role in the Zettelkasten, as as we've all noted in one way or another. Mel with his old entries written a long time ago that he's now finding rich sources in. And my comment on the Zettelkasten was that the magnetic power of a main card can reach over time, and it might take a long time before its perfect match comes along. So, uh, that was the only thing really available to add.
no, but the idea of I don't know the phrase curated time capsule comes to mind, because as long as it's in your Z-log or in your Zettelcast, and it's not it's available to you,
Yeah.
and as Mel pointed out, even things you've worked with a long time ago and misplaced with the Z-log, they come to the surface. They're there. And what's more, because it's analog, as you're leafing through, you are constantly going through what you've gone through, what you created, what stood out yesterday may not stand out as much today, but 10 years down the road, it may just explode in your face because of the person you become in that 10-year period, the experiences that you've had that have changed you, allowed your eyes to see differently than what you saw 10 years before. So I'm telling you, Mr. Nicholas Lumen. I mean, wow. Hats off, hats off, hats off, hats off. Because he really did something, and I'm hoping that we can do what's necessary for it to be done to get it into the schools.
Yeah.
You know, even if it just begins as an after school program.
Yeah.
That'd be just fine.
So I was thinking about that over the weekend because Anthony Metivier has just released the volume 2 of his book,
Oh, yes.
where novel, it's a detective novel, where memory techniques are embedded in the story. But he also has, I think it's 4 books for children
Yes.
that are all about memory. And it feels to me like creating content for the schools is something that is it feels more within reach for us.
Mm.
Just at, given who we interact with and everyone, I just I don't see me being the person that goes to the local school boards and pounds the table and says you need to do this or that. But
But
if
we do
there's an
have a
inspiring set of books that shows the why of doing it. And Kathleen, you've got a book that does that,
in the
that's
works.
still
Yeah.
in progress.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I think that is, not only have it be in schools, but have there be a section in the library.
Yeah. There
Yes.
you go. Yeah. And
Right.
we also, I'm not going to name names here, but we have a fellow Lilligan who is very much associated with school board and designing curricula and such. So perhaps we will, once she completes the book she's working on right now and gets it released, we might be able to entertain her with the idea. Plus, this is her last year of full-time work for the school board, and she's going to retire in the spring. So,
Mm.
it- maybe we can talk her into it.
Maybe. Maybe. It was certainly, hopefully we'll be able to convince her because it's uh, she'll feel the heat. She'll feel 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 the heat
Yeah.
of it. And since she's a writer of curriculums,
Mhm.
she has the heart of it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
is well honed over what the 30 years or whatever it's been,
Yeah.
so that she's got the skill and the network and boom, So yes, that would be a great idea.
Yeah.
And I think we ought to also, since we're looking back as well as forward, remember to thank Scott Scheper for bringing the
Yes.
analog system to us, because I think we all, came to the Zettelkasten through Scott's well-known book.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
and he's the only person that was really pushing, get out the cards, get out a pen, do it by hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And all the research that he had to do in order to produce that book, it's a case in point
Mm.
for the system.
Yeah.
And I I and again, thinking about these challenges today, and some of the characters in the Roanoke story are going to be able to have some of these qualities occur in their heads with the link. It's not like you don't have it, and it's not like you can't have it with digital systems, but there is something extra that
Yes.
happens when you invite all the senses in.
Well, didn't Mel, I think that whole section is an exact example of it. That treasure behind the title card.
And going off of the, using all of your senses, last week I shared a card that I'd done a little illustration on, and that was so much fun. I want to do more cards that have illustrations
I
because
want them.
it's just such a delight to, be flipping through cards that are just full of text and then, oh, there's an illustration. I mean, I've got diagrams and stuff in there too, which is nice, but having it mixed in all together with the words and the picture, it's fun. I want to do more of it.
Outstanding. Yeah, because
The LiLLiPub calendar.
Okay.
there's it.
One for each month.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Oh, that would be great. Yeah, our LiLLiPub calendar could actually be a composite of five of our favorite main cards made that month.
Ooh, interesting.
We could be building it in 2026 for release in 2027.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So we could share them.
Mhm.
But I think the point that I was thinking about, Mel, was that you created all those cards and they were all in your mind at the time, but then just got indexed under a title and
Mhm.
disappeared. And I think when you can talk to a link, you wouldn't have asked the link for those cards because they had been filed away. They were done. And I think that's what a physical Zettelkasten sets you up for surprises. That,
Mhm.
the link is wonderful if you lived on Lydia for getting anything you can name that you want. Let's say everything that's properly indexed can come to you. But when it's an analog, you can stumble upon things that haven't been properly indexed.
That's
Mm.
true. I wonder, it could be a fun thing if one of the characters has written a sort of app for the link of show me something random. Show me something
Oh,
that
Yeah,
or
surely.
the link that there's probably the link probably knows like how many links are there to a particular topic. So, if you had something, show me something that has only one link to it,
oh, wow.
just randomly pick one. And then, it's probably some random thing that you don't care about, but maybe it's something great.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that if we are imagining the link as a big database, we do not imagine what it could be.
Mm.
It is I mean, even ChatGPT. If you imagine ChatGPT as a big database, you're going to get your mind blown the first time you talk to it.
Uh-huh.
Because it's making connections in ways that feels like how sometimes we as humans do it.
Uh-huh.
And that's 21st century, right? So there's more that can be done. But still, the link is a thing in your head. And this is a marvelous thing too. This thing with 10 digits. It is a marvelous product of human evolution that I think helped the brain be what it is too. They co-evolved. And speech, all of these things. The five senses and cognition together are much more than cognition by itself.
And that whole idea, and we've spoken about it before, this whole idea of
Uh-huh.
writing by hand, um, even when your hands are, going through changes, it's still because of the small little movements that you make. There was a comparison. Somebody, I think that was Kit, who linked an article to us, right, talking about the importance of writing, of handwriting, and the idea that you, in order to type, you do one or two strokes over and over and over. I mean, whatever each finger does one or two things. But when you're writing, I think the I think the number was 17 different movements.
Wow.
17 different movements to 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 write down a note. But because you, in order to make the letters, you have to make these movements. The mind likes that variety, and so stays attuned, or there's more attention paid to what is being written than happens by typing. Anyway, Yes, you're right. Hats off, all kinds of hats off to Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he ushered in something that should not have been allowed to lay dormant, you know. Um the same thing as you're doing, Mel. So hats off to you too for
Well,
long.
thank you. The more I research the history of Western thought in my course of learning about Lull and learning about his environment, the Zettelkasten, as we've learned it, is a culmination of centuries and centuries of work of, studying and reading deeply and thinking deeply and finding ways to organize that information. I mean, people have been working on it and working on it and developing it for centuries. And then it's almost gotten lost. We've almost lost it, all of that work. But,
Mm.
you can still find the traces of it in the old books. And that's what I've
Yeah.
been doing. That may end up being its own project once I get enough research done. But yeah, I'm definitely keeping track of all of those strands that I find, because I find the beginnings of Zettelkasten back in the medieval monks. I mean,
Wow.
they started making notations in the margin, and they were keeping track of the same sorts of things that we keep track of. They just didn't have note cards, so they were writing in the margins of their books.
Yeah.
Mm.
But in the 13th century, the index was invented. Up until then, nobody had indexes,
Oh, wow.
but they had a need for it, and a couple different people invented it at basically the same time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and the index is one of those things that people take for granted, especially with ebooks, because ebooks tend not to have them. And
Yeah.
they'll say, well, you've got your full text search.
Mm,
Uh-huh.
Hmm,
Not the
yeah.
same thing.
not the
Well,
same.
the two types of index that were invented at the same time, they were not actually the same kind. One of them was a concordance, which is just
Yeah.
a list of the words and where the words are found. The other one was a subject index, which
Yeah.
is much more subjective, and that's what you can't get with the search, and that's what Zettelkasten does. All of our indexing is subjective and subject.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kathleen, I don't know, did you invent the tagline as we, glibly talk about it? Because I'm not sure that I
I did.
encountered it before you. And that is powerful medicine because um, it adds life.
Yeah. I can't, I didn't read it anywhere. So all I can say is maybe I invented it. I wouldn't be shocked to find that someone else had already invented it before me. But I, in my world, it evolved because titles were so dead that and then when I occasionally was so inspired by a card that I wrote out a tagline instead of a title, it when I went back to that card, it was so powerful that I mean, this was really within the first few months of keeping my Zettelkasten that I started doing it. And yet I can point to my index where the first card of a letter of the alphabet is all titles, all titles. And now Mel just inspired me. I got to go treasure hunting.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know that you, as you encounter those things,
Yeah,
do fix them.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm being more proactive in it. It's like, okay, it's January. Let me do the J's.
yeah. Something like that, because I'm finding, as I say, I'm finding I'm getting through my backlog, but as I get through my backlog, a lot of the cards are cards that should not have been made in the first place.
Hmm.
And then I wonder, well, I've got it. Should I get it? Oh, well, I've got a mechanism that lets me file it quickly, but there's probably so much better, more wealth of those cards that need to be individually get a tagline and be filed properly. That Mel, you just changed my approach to what I consider my backlog. I think my richer backlog is going to be those areas.
When as I recall, your an early reference to the tagline was memory prompt, wasn't it? Didn't
Yeah.
you call it a memory
I
prompt?
didn't. I called it a memory prompt. I did not have the name tagline. It was in my book, and it was the memory response card. And I had it when you created gave a character trait to one of your characters, then you would write this line that would, and it had to be a living, breathing line so that it would put you right back into the situation. So it had to be very evocative. So this is really where it was born. Yes, you're right, Dad. But I didn't have the name tagline yet. And
Yeah, memory prompt. Yeah, yeah.
You may not be confident in saying that you invented it, but I'm happy to say you invented it.
Yeah, yeah.
Not to say that nobody ever did something like that before, but it's not what influenced you,
no,
so
yeah, it's not what
you
influenced.
you may not have been the first one to invent it, perhaps, but you definitely invented it.
Yeah. And I can claim to have promoted it. Yeah. I mean, so much of the things that I work with are things that I did not myself invent. So I have to be real careful about that.
Okay, you can be as careful as you wish. Um, you know, uh,
Allow us to celebrate your magnificence, Kathleen.
Thank you.
because the idea, even if it was invented before, it's like that offer that doesn't get any traffic.
Yeah.
It's got to have the traffic. And what you've done has, pulled people magnetically to this work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you you brought the juice. So that's it.
What I can say is that it made me realize that basically I have in Zeek here 3 different kinds of Zettelkastens. I have a Zettelkasten of information, which is numbered as Scott Scheper numbers things. And keywords work just fine for that because they're just data points. And like you mentioned, Julianne, at some point you have to say, is a card in that box the fastest way to get to that data point? Or is a Google search faster? Or Memory Palace. But so that's one kind of Zettelkasten. The other kind of Zettelkasten is the kind of Victoria is bringing to us with her writer's book, which is a tool for writers. Scott does make mention of that because he used Zettelkasten as a tool to create this very book. And that's what Victoria picked up on and said, I can modify that and use that for writing, for fiction writing. So that's another type of a use of a Zettelkasten as a lockstep production partner. You build a card because it's going to be a phrase in your book. And the card that comes next will be the phrase that comes after. And they're just lockstep parallel. And then the third type is the kind that I love the most, which is the Zettelkasten of ideas.
Wow.
And your directory cards, which, Scott calls them, what does he call them?
Branch collectives. He's got several different kinds that are basically directory cards.
Directory cards are the ambassadors between those entities.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are because they will connect areas near and far. Yeah.
Yeah, and it really just doesn't matter where things are once you've got the index and directory cards.
Yes, and that's why numbering really isn't important. It's
Yeah.
just what works for you. And the rules are so simple. Every card needs to get a number. No 2 cards can have the same number. And if you drop your tray, you can put it back together again by the number. That's it. That's the only rules. Then do whatever works. If it works for you to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, if you've got an index and a directory card, you can get by with that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I want to thank you all for all the wonderful images that you played in my mind today. You know, most beautiful. And I want to, we're at the top of the hour. I want to extend to each and every one of you and our plus ones a very, very productive and happy new year.
You. To you too.
Thank you. 2025 has been one of those high school words, splendiferous, you know.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful. It's been great. So thank you. Thank you. Yes, Kathleen, do the
If
thing.
you want to have a great 2026, you know where you can find us because we aren't on YouTube land every day of the week, but we are over in LiLLiPub. So come on over to lillipub.org and join the conversation. See you over there.
Yeah. See you.
Happy New Year to everyone watching and forwarding and liking and commenting.
Just as a suggestion.
Yeah, just subscribing, those things.
Wonderful. Okay, everybody.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.